one question I get asked a whole lot is, should you weigh your food before or after you cook it? Because depending upon how you cook your food, especially your meat, it might weigh more or less, okay, depending upon the method you use. And what they're implying is if it weighs more, if it weighs less, you might be getting more or less protein, more or less calories, etc., depending upon the way you cook it. Now, to go ahead and answer this, I'm going to go way the hell off on a tangent. I'm going to talk about coffee. Okay? So, how much caffeine do you think is in a cup of coffee this size? Okay? How much caffeine do you think is in a cup of coffee this size? How much caffeine do you think is in a cup of coffee this size? Now, I'm going to tell you right now, if I go ahead and take one of these pods, shoot a bunch of water through it, this much water, it's going to be this much caffeine. If I shoot this much water through it, it's going to be this much caffeine. If I shoot this much water through it, it's going to be this much caffeine. Okay? So basically, this is what determines how much caffeine I'm going to be having in my coffee. Okay? That is what determines it. It has nothing to do with the size of the cup or how much water is added. You don't have caffeine in water, you have caffeine in coffee. So let's bring this back to talking about cooking meat. If I take a 200-gram amount of chicken breast that is weighed raw, it's going to have 220 calories and it's going to have 47 grams of protein. Now, if I fry it, it will probably be, about the same weight when I'm done. If I grill it or if I air fry it, it might weigh considerably less when it's done. If I boil it, God, I don't know, maybe it might even weigh more when I'm done than 200 grams if I boil the chicken. But the fact remains, you are going to have 200 grams of raw chicken. Now, whether you cook it in a way where there's more or less water, because let's face it, that's the difference, okay? Muscle is mostly water, okay? So if you have chicken breast, which is chicken muscle, and you cook it in a way that evaporates more water, after it's cooked, it's going to weigh less, but it's still going to be 200 grams worth of chicken. It's still going to be 220 calories. It's still going to be, 47 grams of protein. If you cook it in a way that actually adds water, it soaks up water because you boiled it. Once again, you may have more weight after you cook it, but it's still going to be 200 grams worth of chicken, which is going to be 220 calories, which is going to be 47 grams of protein. So what I'm basically trying to say here is, if you take a certain amount of raw meat, regardless of how you cook it, regardless of how much water you lose and what the difference in the weight is between the raw and the prepared chicken or beef or whatever food you're cooking, the fact remains you are still going to have the same number of calories. You're still going to have the same amount of protein in it. Now, full disclosure, okay, if you use like the George Foreman grill or any kind of grill and all the fat from a fatty piece of meat drips out, yes, you are losing a lot of fat, which you are losing a lot of calories, okay? That is one reason why I always cook my beef in a way that I can actually have all of the fat. I either fry it, okay, and pour it, all the fat, onto the plate after I take the meat out, or I have a little almost like a little Tupperware made out of glass. I put the glass Tupperware right into the oven, bake it like that, and when I take it out, it still has all the fat inside. So that is one way in which you may have more or less calories, more or less fat when you're done cooking. But in general, I always recommend that you weigh your food raw, because like I said, especially for something like chicken breast, it's almost all protein anyway. 200 grams worth of chicken is 47 grams of protein, 0 grams of carbs, like 3 grams of fat, okay? And that is not going to change depending upon the way you cook it. So don't worry about it. Just weigh your food raw, especially your meat, okay? And another thing about this is, what I do, for instance, personally, that makes a lot of sense and that saves a lot of time is I will go, let's say every 2 weeks, I will go shopping and buy just a ton of chicken, ground beef, whatever kind of meat I'm eating in the particular time. and I will trim off, you know, the white part from the chicken, okay? Chop it up into little cubes, and I will bag it into quart Ziploc bags and freeze it in. So every time that I reach into the freezer and grab a Ziploc bag, I know there are 200 grams of raw chicken in that bag. So I just need to go ahead and cook it and eat it, okay? So like I said, just keep things simple. You know, I really suggest you do the same thing in terms of food prep. You buy the food, package it out, so you know, for instance, with me, 80% ground chuck, ground beef, 8 ounces in every bag. I just grab a Ziploc bag. I know there are 8 ounces of raw beef in there, okay? The same thing if I use some kind of a steak, 8 ounces of raw steak in that bag. The same thing with chicken, 200 grams of chicken in that bag, okay? And that is how I always get the exact same amount of protein, calories, etc. every single time that I cook my food. Anyway, if you guys are interested in learning not just how to weigh your food, but how to actually use it in a way that you could completely change your body, whether you want to, you know, cut fat while maintaining or even increasing your muscle size and strength, whether you want to, you know, build muscular size and strength without getting fat. If you want to get your body down to 10% body fat and stay there, I suggest you check out my Low Carb Cutting and Bulking 2.0 program. There's a link right down below in the description. You need to check this thing out because it is a living, breathing, changing program. You know, after you've bought it once, you have access to all the updates. So if there's something that people are asking about that they want to have added to it, I will add it to it. And like I said, even though you bought it in the past, all the updates are going to be available, okay? And like I said, you know, this shows you exactly how to get yourself fat adapted, so you're using fat for fuel, how to determine what your goal body weight should be, how to determine if you should cut or bulk, okay? And how to cut without losing size or strength of your muscles, how to bulk without increasing your body fat, how to transition from a cutting phase into a bulking phase. So like I said, the point being, I wanted you to get down to 10% body fat and stay there even as you try to lean bulk. lowcarbcuttingandbulking.com, or click on the link in the description below. Aside from that, thanks for watching the video. Subscribe if you haven't subscribed yet, and click on that little bell icon if you have subscribed, because I want you to get notified when I put these videos out every single day. Thanks for watching. I'll see you guys in the next video.